in order for people to be employed on their technology, all you got to do is download the app and you enable your location. You upload a photo of your ID, and basically they ask you to go for deliveries. They do a quick background check to see if you're okay, if you don't have any criminal record or you're not involved in any kind of something that is serious. You know, of course, they gotta be obliged by what the government and tells them to do. And that's it. You go out there and you deliver food. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to sound too bitter. I don't want to sound like this kind of guy to like persuade you to think that like it's not a good company to work for or anything. However, after working with them for several months and looking into the in and outs of what it is to work for this company, I urge you to, first of all, experience it yourself. If you want to go out there, you download the app, like I said, you do the whole thing with a photo, ID, background check, which they check based on the social security number that you have. And they answer usually after a week or two, and then you go on the platform and you work for them. And to be honest, it's a pretty interesting job. I mean, you get to interact with people and you get to say hello, hi, how you doing, please them. Sometimes they get their delivery and they're very, very hungry, or they watch over their kid, or they're doing something that, you know, so to speak, disables them from being able to go by themselves to the restaurant and pick up the food for themselves. So you're enabling people to, so to speak, do what they need to do, you know, especially if they work in the finance industry or something like that, and they're very, very tight on time and every minute counts for them. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's even better for the government. The government, you know, they make more money because people are, first of all, paying tax for the restaurant, and they pay tax through the employers that they hire through the Uber platform, aside from also having more time to work on their very own time, to the point where they produce more money, so that it's a win-win for everybody. On the other hand, it does come with a lot of headaches. It comes with, the first headache that it comes with is the time. I mean, the time that it takes to deliver each package, and the time that it takes to, so to speak, be able to make a certain amount of money after a certain amount of hours working for this company. It could be very, very tricky. Sometimes it could be, you know, very cold weather outside, and other times it could be a warm weather, and it's just like, it all depends, you know. It has a lot to do with really, you know, whether or not it's worth it for you to work for them. I mean, you know, again, it's a technology company that were enabled to make people to make money for their online platform based on people's mutual understanding that this is the platform in which they get their food from. I could definitely tell you that in the long run, if you're this kind of person that wants to get full benefits, such as health insurance, a health insurance that functions, meaning you go to the doctor, there's no copay, you get your medication for free of charge, you're able to go through certain surgeries or things for aesthetic, like such as taking care for your teeth and stuff like that. I mean, they do offer a very basic plan, which is basically one BS. I mean, they ask you to pay $19.99 a month, and they give you 2 teeth cleaning, I mean, which basically would have been equivalent to about the same amount of money that you would have spent if you had gone to the dentist privately. Or they give you, I believe, like 1 checkup of vision a year or 2. I don't really remember. And they have other programs they so to speak teach you through college education from the University of Arizona, which is another one big BS. And I don't claim or proclaim to know anything about it. I very vaguely looked into their policies, and I definitely say that you should look into it, whether or not it's worth it for you. As far as making a living, I mean, it's you pay about 48.2.9.6% percentage to the company from the money that you earn, aside from the tips that people give you out of generosity, which is a whole separate subject. Just from the service fee, they charge you about almost 50% of your money goes directly to Uber. And then it's the time, it's the energy. You know, if, for example, you walk for Uber and you walk more than a certain amount of miles, so then it means that you got to consume more food. And if you got to consume more food, you got to take into account that your food is going to be more expensive, versus where if you would have spent less than a certain amount of energy per mile or for the day being. And on top of all that, you also got to pay your own tax. There's no contribution from Uber's side as far as like paying the employee's tax. So let's say you made $15,000 at the end of the day. By the end of the year, you got to file your own tax with a 1099 form. It's a special self-employed tax that you get from the file. They give it to the IRS anyway, which means that the government knows how much money you made. Whether or not they want to audit you for not filing or filing, it's up to them to decide. Usually, for the most part, the government doesn't bother you if you don't file those taxes, just because they understand that, like, if you file taxes on less than a certain amount of money, it means that you literally barely made any money, to the point where, like, they know that you wouldn't physically be able to possibly pay them the tax, so they don't bother you so much. And I don't recommend messing around with the government. I mean, this is a whole separate subject that I really don't want to get into, but at the end of the day, it's something that you got to take into consideration working for this tech companies, so to speak. Now, as far as just in general working for this company, I kind of feel like it's an okay company to work with. I mean, you know, they tell you we have trips. This restaurant got an order for a certain amount of money. This customer needs his delivery. And if you could be the guy to deliver the food for them, which is, it sounds reasonable, it sounds good. I mean, but you do definitely got to look into the long run. You got to look into a 10-year plan. You got to look into a 5-year plan. You know, doing these things on a momentary, so to speak, side gig work situation could carry you away from really emphasizing on things that you may want to do in the long run. And it's very, very, very tricky. I mean, overall, I think that Uber is a great company to work for. And on the other hand, it's also a great company to find yourself falling between the woods. There's no question about it that at the end of the day, you gonna be making, like, I don't want to quote a certain amount. You know, if you're an Uber driver or you work for Uber services, you could put the link below to see whether or not comment, say, hey, I work for Uber. I may have a different perspective about Uber, but at the end of the day, you gotta really look into whether or not it's worth it for you to work for Uber. It's probably one of the trickiest companies I've ever worked for, and I don't want to discourage you from working for Uber, because it may be your only ability to make money right now, or so to speak, think that it's something that you would have gained from doing it, but you should definitely have another job beside just working for Uber. And obviously consider it if it's worth it for you or not to work for Uber. It's very, very tricky. Like I said, it's not so simple.